can give you 2 tips right now that you can start implementing to make you a better reseller by the end of the year. I haven't done a video like this in a while, so I'm a little out of practice, so bear with me. I'm going to do the best that I can. But one of the questions that I get all the time and have gotten for the past few years is how do Joe and I do it? What are the logistics of what we do? Because it's obviously working for us. Our business is growing. That's something to be proud of, especially in this economy. But it's not because Joe and I are hyper talented or super gifted or anything like that. If we can do it as scatterbrained, one of the 2 of us has ADHD. The other one, me, is highly creative and has their head in the clouds 99% of the time. But we've managed to make it work. And so given that we've had just a lot of trial and error and a lot of time, I want to be able to share that information with you. At the risk of getting really fluffy and over-explainy, I'm just going to jump right into it. And I'm going to say that the first one is going to be your listing area or your listing space. Let me show you mine. Okay, here it is. And I was really careful not to do any cleanup. I wanted to show you exactly what it looks like from a day-to-day basis. So it's obviously well taken care of. It's something that we use every day, and we make sure that whoever uses the station, they're careful to clean up after themselves. So this is a dedicated space that we have for listing, which means that it has everything within arm's reach that you could possibly need, including a trash can, including pencils and pens, and how our inventory system works. Like if you sell a lot of clothes and you keep them in those little plastic baggies, you're going to have a full stack of those ready for you to grab at any point in time. So listing is a tedious process that requires you to do the same thing over and over again with small changes and minor details that requires a lot of focus. When you move from one area to the next, you have to come back, and it takes on average, when you switch tasks, psychologically speaking, when you switch tasks, it takes on average about 20 minutes for you to get back into the groove of things. The goal of having a listing station or a dedicated place that you can list is to reduce the amount of distractions so that in the amount of time that you have for listing, you are actually listing and you're not looking for supplies, you are not chasing things around, right? Another thing that we have in our listing station that has become very convenient for us is these carts right here. Now I understand that this is kind of large scale because this is what we've grown into. But when we first started in our garage, we kind of had this system, but on a much smaller scale, right? So instead of these giant carts, we may have had a small table or a bucket. We used to use, sorry, I'm spinning you around so much, these little green buckets. These little green buckets used to be our carts. Now we have more inventory, so we have carts now. And what we would do is we would have one cart that was the stuff that needed to be listed. And then we would have like a box or our inventory holding area on the other side that we would essentially put the stuff that we had already listed. So we never had to leave our space and we had everything that we need. Let's take a closer look at this listing station. All right, so everybody's listing station, depending on what you are actually selling, is going to look a little bit different. For us, because we sell a wide variety of stuff, we're going to have a lot of different things. So one of the things that I always recommend is if you sell electronics or anything that needs to be plugged in and tested, we have all of our charging cables here. The most common ones, such as like right now, we're actually testing some headphones, some earbuds. We have them sitting here charging, right? We've got iPhone Lightning chargers. We have USB-C chargers. We have regular AC adapters. Now, if there's like a unique charging cable or something like that, we would have to use, obviously, the one that came with it. But we always have that on hand. Of course, we also have a trash can because reselling takes a lot of trash. But on this side, we have a lot of things that over time, when we started realizing, man, I have to get up and get this all the time. I need to have one for my designated space, right? One of them being when we put in our measurements for eBay, we have a tape measure. We have tape for, whatever you need tape for. We also have, looks like Whitney, this is Whitney's creation, right? So if you don't know, if you haven't been following for a very long time, Whitney is a long-term family friend of ours who has been with us since the beginning. And one of the main reasons that we are so successful is that we had Whitney with us, and she's brilliant at these kinds of things. But in here, she's got, don't do that. She's got screwdrivers of all different sizes. She's got rubber bands. She's got a little scraper to help her get sticky stuff off. She's got Goo Gone in here. She's got she's got a duster, she's got scissors, she's got a box cutter, she's got multiple pens and highlighters, whatever it is that she needs over time. Oh, and she has snacks. So she's not going to have to get up, or I'm not going to have to get up, or Joe's not going to, whoever's listening, if it's just you, is not going to have to get up for any reason to take care of all of this stuff. Another thing that is really, really useful is we actually have this heat gun. If you don't have a heat gun, that's fine. You can use a hair dryer, but it helps loosen adhesive on certain things. Like sometimes when you get like customer returns, you'll have those return sticker and labels on them. Looks really unsightly and makes the box look really bad. So we actually take those off. Sometimes they even have a sticker underneath that will tell you what the item is, so you can look it up for price comps. It's always good to have a little bit of heat ready and available to you. Now, let's say that you don't have space. You're like, Jessica, you have a huge area to be able to create this whole space. I have a small bedroom in corner of my bedroom, and I don't have just a place that I can have a full-on listing station, right? Well, neither did we when we first started off. This is what we grew into, right? But let me show you how we started. This is what we started with. The only thing that's missing here is one of those little light boxes that you can get on Amazon. They're not super duper expensive. They're well worth the investment. So you can get clear, concise pictures. But so I would have maybe a light box. Now, if you sell bigger items and you want to get the big white backdrops, and then you can just put, like if you're going to be working on that workspace later, you can always just put something over it to kind of protect the whiteness so it doesn't get all dingy and look bad in pictures. That's fine. It's really just dependent upon what you are selling specifically, right? But in a space that you are sharing with either other people or you're sharing with other tasks, something like this is super easy because it gets you exactly the same thing that we have, but much, much smaller. So if I were to be doing other things like paying my bills or whatever, I could take all of this and I could slide it down, and then I have the open workspace, right? But essentially, everything that I have in here is what you would find in a basic listing station. So this is how we do our inventory. These are our little stickers that kind of tell us what it is or where to find it that we use to kind of organize our inventory. So that's here, ready to go. We've got cleaning products, all the things that I told you that we had. We have charging cables and charging blocks. We have the screwdrivers to be able to take stuff off, inspect it. We've got lint brushes in case we're selling clothes or something that's kind of velvety. We've got cleaning products. We've got Goo Gone. Actually, the only thing that's not in here that probably could be in here is that heat gun that I was telling you about to remove that adhesive. Of course, a lot of people don't even use that, and they found other solutions to that. That's just the solution that I feel like works best for me. So having a designated space doesn't mean that you have to have a lot of space. It's just when you are listing, you have to have a space that isn't distracting, that only has the things in it that you need to list. Because let's just face it, if you are an entrepreneur or if you're like most people, you don't just have one thing to worry about, right? You've got 10,000 other things that you could be doing. Probably half of those things are things you'd rather be doing. So having a designated listing area reduces that temptation to get distracted. Now I want to talk about that second item, all right? That second thing that you can be doing, and that thing is scheduling your time. I know people do not like to hear that. It sounds easier said than done, but if you can figure out a way to make it work, I am telling you, it is a game changer. I want you to think really deeply about your life right now and all the other responsibilities that you have going on. Many of you work one or more jobs, right? And you still need that supplemental income. So it's very, very easy for you to go to work and to push, and then you come home and the last thing you want to do is sit before a computer or a phone and start listing things when really all you want to do is relax, right? I get it. I've been there. I understand. But your business will not grow if you don't invest the time. And there's really no way around that, right? So we have to figure out a way to schedule ourselves, even if it's just an hour or a certain amount of listings. Preferably, I like time, because if you do it by a certain amount of listings and you come to a really complicated item that is difficult to list or requires a little bit more research, especially when you're in liquidation, because you can't choose what it is that you're getting, it causes some issue, because that thing will just grow dust and sit in the corner because you don't want to deal with it, and there will never be a good time to deal with it. If you're dealing with time, you get that big thing listed, you take the time that is needed, and then you move on and you get more listings the next day. That's just my personal opinion. Everybody feels a little bit differently about it. Everything, is case by case basis. It is what it is. But on the other hand, also, right, if you are somebody who is used to hustling and you find this thing and it becomes very, very interesting to you, it can easily consume your life. So maybe you meant to be listing for an hour or two. Next thing you know, it's the middle of the night and you have 10,000 other things that you should have done that you didn't do. Having a set schedule in which you are scheduled to list, to get those items listed, it's going to be invaluable to you no matter what kind of person you are. I would say stick with it for a week, come up with a schedule, come up with something, I'm going to list from this time to this time for 5 days this week, these specific 5 days. And maybe on the second day, you're like, this is not going to work. Stick with it for a week. Okay. See if there's some settling that needs to happen. And if it's still not working, then you make that adjustment until you find something. And I will also say something may work for you for a season, and then maybe something else comes along. Maybe your kids start softball. That's happened before, maybe you get an illness in the family, and for that season, that time is being taken by something else. You're going to have to make adjustments. So you got to be flexible. You got to be moldable. You got to be malleable, but always schedule a specific amount of time in which you are investing in your business, specifically in listing, because listing is where you get your money. Marketing is great. Watching YouTube videos to gain knowledge is great. Those things are all great things that you can do to invest your business, but I am talking specifically about scheduling that time for listing. Okay, so those are your two main tips that you can work on for the rest of the year to become a better reseller by the end of this year. The first one is to create that designated workspace, whether that be a space that is shared with other tasks but can be easily cleaned off and turned into a listing station and is only a listing station without distractions for the entire time that you are listing. Or if you are lucky enough to have a space that can be set up as a listing station and only a listing station, get rid of those distractions in your life. Make it easier for you to streamline that process. Your brain will thank you because it'll be a lot less anxiety producing and a lot less stressful. I don't care who you are. Everybody gets distracted. And the second thing is to make sure that you are scheduling time to list. Listing is not the most fun part about reselling, but it is the money-making part. And I want to see your business profitable. So try these two things out. Keep us updated. Let us know how it's going. Let us know how you adjusted. Let us know how it helped you see the struggles that you're having in your business. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Until next time, friends, peace.